You've selected a show from the Podcast Jukebox, a DIY podcast network.
It's Will Sean Podcast. The internet cried out for two more blowhards, and they courageously answered that call. Armed with the weapon of wit, each week they're joined by guests to discuss movies, television, pop culture, and anything else that's pissing them off. Take it away, boys.
I'm Will Link.
And I'm Sean David.
And this is Will Sean Podcast.
Oh, hi, Mark. How you doing, Will?
We didn't even talk about that.
We did not. Very exciting.
Well, I'm a little out of sorts.
What happened?
Legitimately so. I found out my favorite drinking hole, my favorite bar in Los Angeles, the place where I've formed, I would say, 90% of my adult friendships, save my friendship with you, at Sardo's.
Not the Abbey?
No, not the Abbey. Sardo's is closing down.
Yeah.
I've been going there for 12 years.
Everybody knows your name there.
Everybody does know my name there. That's why I continued to go.
Huh.
So,
Because it fed your vanity and your need for Jack Daniels.
so this might end up being a bigger topic down the line.
Do we record an episode at Sardo's?
I don't think we have time to.
Ah.
But the point is, I'm very upset. I'm a little out of sorts. I'm a little thrown off. We got to do an interview here. We got to talk about topics. I don't know if I can keep it together because this news is fresh off the wire.
Now, before this news, washed up on your shore an hour ago, you were ready to start screaming about your phone.
No, I'll do that next week.
Oh, okay. That's getting
I'll do that next week.
That's getting the full treatment.
That's getting the full treatment. So what's going on in the world of Will Sean Podcast?
Well, other than all of our favorite bars closing, I want to continue to thank everyone who's listening to the podcast. If any of you found this podcast because you are listening to other shows on the Podcast Jukebox Network, I want to thank you. Please make sure you subscribe to our show. Please make sure you tell all your other perverted friends about it because that's how we will grow and continue to be successful. So make sure you like us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, and give us a star rating on iTunes and leave a few kind words.
With a one vanilla podcast on that network, aren't
That's it. They need that vanilla podcast, though.
And who's our sponsor this week?
Based on the incredible true story of 400,000 children stranded at summer camp, it's Funkirk, a 4-week ordeal that tested these children to their absolute limits: swimming, dodgeball, archery, and the most devastating activity of them all, color war. It took dozens of desperate letters, but finally the parents arrived. When these campers couldn't go home, home came for them. Funkirk.
That's good. That's a good one. I saw, right before we get on Twitter, that Hardee's is doing a Dunkirk movie tie-in. With
You mean Carl's Jr.?
Well,
Yeah.
Hardee's is the account that tweeted it.
But
they're like, buy our 40-ounce cup and go see, of Dunkirk Collector's Cup, and go see Dunkirk. What is happening here?
Yeah, but I feel like this is a minor sin in the litany of cross-promotional fast food tie-ins.
I saw a tweet right after it that I apologize. I don't know who tweeted it, and they don't listen to this anyway, so they can go fuck themselves. Where it said, I'm holding out for the 70-ounce cup the way Nolan intended it. So, there you go. On the show today, people are dying. We have to make some last-minute changes because a lot of people are dying. We will discuss. Also, I went to a Blondie concert, and Debbie Harry, she's great, but also, she's lost a few steps. We will discuss. And nobody knows where the fuck they're sitting whenever they go anywhere, and I have some thoughts on that. But first, we are very excited to have with us today a terrific musician, Eric Reed.
How you doing?
Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, Sean, please.
I had nothing to say. I was just taking in a sharp inhale.
Well, Eric.
Oh, we're doing another show. Is that cool?
Anything goes on Will Sean podcast.
That's it.
And maybe I need it to keep my head straight today, or not
The
straight.
tragic news of the 400,000 campers stranded.
I am all. Well, let me ask this: you're a musician.
Yeah.
You're a jazz musician.
Yeah.
You've spent some time in bars.
Yeah.
You must have.
You could call it that.
You must have had some favorite haunts over the years that are sadly no more. There must be a lot of jazz places that are sadly
Oh,
no
well,
more.
of course, absolutely. There used to be the old Catalina Bar and Grill, which is now on Sunset and Highland or whatever. It's over there. Used to be on Cahuenga, between Hollywood and Selma. And it was in a much hipper space. It was smaller. Right down the street was Shelley's Manhole. But a dozen jazz clubs have closed in the past 10, 15 years. It was nice to hang.
Is there still the place right here in the valley on Victory?
What was that, Chadney's? Not Chadney's.
No.
Charlie O's?
Yes.
Yeah, that's closed. Yeah.
That's closed?
Well,
Okay.
A lot of places like that. There was a place in Burbank called Chadney's.
Okay.
Places just closing down.
Well, we'll get to some of that. But first, I always like to get the guest's origin story. Where are you from originally?
From Philadelphia originally.
Okay. Is Philadelphia is it a hotbed for jazz?
It's a hotbed for jazz musicians.
Okay.
They don't have a great deal of jazz clubs there, but it's kind of notorious for being the spot right before you get to New York City. So everybody kind of just hangs in
Is that where
Philly.
they'd run out of money?
Exactly. Coming from North Carolina,
Yeah.
South Carolina, whatever it was. But, before you get to New York, you kind of hang out in Philly. It's close enough, away you can get there if you need to. But John Coltrane spent a great deal of time there. And there's just a great city for music because it's a small big city.
Yeah.
It's a big city, but it has a small town feeling.
Don't tell the people of Philadelphia that.
Oh, they know. Trust me. No, they brag about it. They do. It's their thing. That and cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
So I've had the cheesesteaks.
Oh, yeah.
Hoagies.
Hoagies. That's right. Yeah,
Hoagies.
the hoagie.
Hoagies.
Where do you get? You got to get the cheesesteak with like the cheese whiz, right? Isn't that the way
I don't do. Black
do-
folks don't do cheese whiz.
You don't do wit whiz?
That's just not what we do. That ain't
I know.
cheese. That
That's
ain't
what I
cheese,
heard.
man.
That's what I heard, though.
That
That's
ain't
what I
cheese,
hear.
man. No, maybe if you're
Also, you heard of like the Italian network?
That's what I'm saying. Black folks don't do cheese whiz. Let me just tell you that right now. And we've got the best cheesesteaks. We do. We don't. Actually, there's Pagano's and D'Alessandro's.
Okay.
Those are two really good ones. And but I always go to Larry's because I grew up in West Philly. So I get my
Everybody's got that place.
Yeah, there's
course.
the other one. Yeah, everyone's got like Philadelphia people. They all have like their spot. They
But you know
swear by.
what? It's the same thing like in New York with pizza. People are like, oh, where should I go get pizza? I'm like, well, I like this hole-in-the-wall place that no one's ever going to tell you about.
Yeah.
But, like, somebody else got another place.
Sal and Carmine's. You got to get pizza at a place called Sal and Carmine's.
Sabaros.
Yeah.
Do not.
really.
Oh my God, really?
There's a great place at LaGuardia Airport called Sabaros that you got to try.
Terminal 3, you buy a ticket
Somebody from California.
anywhere the
told you
WestJet is flying, and you go sidle up to the bar there. They'll take care of you.
Before we get back to music here, I was at the JetBlue terminal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I better buy a slice of pizza. And it wasn't Sparrows, it was whatever pizza place in the JetBlue terminal. And then these people in front of me are just like, I want that square pizza. What's a square pizza? And it pissed me off. And I could tell it pissed the guy who served them the...
Because they're at a Sicilian style.
Yeah, it pissed him off too. But I'm like, this happens to this guy every day because he's at the JetBlue terminal.
Hello.
Like, people are coming in, they don't know Sicilian. And this
So
happened...
it's not a hotbed for culture there.
This happened to me out here, though, once, too. Where I was in a pizza place near the Whiskey A Go-Go or whatever. And it was really late, and I walked into it, and I said, oh, I'll have a slice of Sicilian. And the pimple-faced teenager didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And I'm like, the Sicilian. He goes, oh, the square pizza? So, fuck you, people. Anyway.
Good story.
Back to
Pizza time.
so you grew up in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Did you always want to be a musician? Was music something that was always like part of your life?
It was always part of my life, but I wanted to be a baseball player.
Oh.
I wanted to run track. I wanted to be a policeman.
Really?
Absolutely. I wanted to
And
be
then you turn 10.
And then I turned 10. And then my whole life changed after hearing Art Tatum.
Oh, okay.
And that just blew me away. And then that's what I knew I wanted to do. But once I realized that was almost humanly impossible for most other human beings, I said, well, okay, then I better stick with some other things I can do. But Fats Wild and Nat King Cole, I just fell in love with. My father was a singer and a preacher.
Okay. So you came from a musical family.
Yeah, not like
I mean,
Mozart.
but it wasn't like
there was music in the house.
Okay, so it wasn't like Salzburg in the 1760s.
Not at all. No, not even close. But it wasn't like Jackson 5 either.
Okay.
It was very much just a house full of music.
Okay.
But I was the only one that actually became professional.
Did you sing? So it wasn't like singing in church or anything?
I did do that, but I did it badly.
Okay.
So what was the first instrument then you picked up? Was
Drums.
it just drums? Okay.
Yeah.
Much to
and
the
I
chagrin of the
poked a
family.
hole in every drum with my drumstick and in the back of my Stretch Armstrong. So that was the end of the drums for me.
Okay. Did they give you the triangle?
No. I skipped right to the piano.
And then, you went right to the piano after drums.
Yeah, my next door neighbor had a piano over at his house.
Okay.
So when they used to babysit me, and then they used to just prop me up on the piano, and I just play.
Now, I mean, I am not a musical person.
Mm-hmm.
Like they handed me a violin, I tried to blow into it or something like that. But I stole that from Woody Allen. But the point is, I'm not a musical person. So obviously, any skill set you're building up, whether it's like I'm a writer, or you just wrote more and got better. But did you feel like you took to the piano very quickly and music very quickly? Like it was like when you started it, was it something that you were like it felt good, it felt right, like it felt like this was going to develop?
I'm 3, so I didn't think about any of that.
Okay.
But I just did it. And I just did it because it was something that I was doing. So you have to ask somebody who was much older watching this go down. I always wanted to do it, and they couldn't pull me off the piano, and I would actually start crying.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. So I was born to do that.
So
for
it
sure.
was that was really ingrained in you.
Absolutely. And nobody else played piano in the house.
Oh, interesting.
It was just, there.
So at what point did you realize, okay, I'm playing this piano. I'm getting pretty good at it. Maybe I could make a career out of this.
When I found that out, it was too late. But I would probably say 12, 13.
Okay.
When I decided, I said, okay, yeah, this is definitely what I'm going to do. Little did I know the road. But, I'm not going to say I have no regrets, 'cause I got thousands of them. But I would have gone about it a different way.
Did, I lost my train of thought there. So around 12, 13, you realize this is a thing. You keep doing stuff like that. So what was it always jazz? Was that the music that you always responded to most of all? Or were you playing something else before that? Were you doing different kinds of music?
Well, I started off listening to things on the radio, so I would hear Bill Withers' Lean on Me, or something by Donny Hathaway, or something by the Eagles or Chicago, whatever was on the radio. I just kind of just tried to pick out little notes. And then I grew up playing in my father's church, so gospel music.
Okay.
Right.
And then I took piano lessons privately, formally, so there's classical music.
Right.
So all of it I was exposed to all of it. But jazz was different because nobody in my house was a jazz fan. My next door neighbor was a jazz fan, so he would just let me listen to some of his records. But something happened. There was like this spark when I heard the music that made me go, nobody can teach me that. And I kind of just instinctively knew that. So I started playing.
Is it no one can teach you that because they didn't have the skills, or because there's something inherently? Was it the improvisational qualities of jazz that you were attracted to?
All of that.
Okay.
I mean, they have books on jazz improvisation and things like that. But with a music like that, that's not something that you can really put into a curriculum. I mean, you can try, but everybody winds up finding their own way to it.
Right.
So you just wind up doing it. It's like trying to teach somebody how to be a comedian.
Yeah.
They can talk to you about timing. They can talk to you about what to do when you're bombing. What's the show? I'm dying up here.
Yeah.
So they can talk to you about all that, and they can say, hey, talk about your life. One-liners are boring, blah, 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 blah. But there's no comedy school. You know what I'm saying?
I think with all the arts.
Yeah.
Like you have to. There's only so much theory you can go through.
Exactly.
And then you have to just be out there
And just
doing it
Right.
over and over again, and that's the only way you get good.
Exactly.
So, did you go to like music school?
I did. I went to Settlement Music School in Philadelphia, and then I went to the Colburn School here in L.A.
Oh.
It was called the Performing. What was it called before? It's called the Community School of Performing Arts.
Before they got that big check.
They got that big old check.
Yeah.
and then I went to. No, that was it. And then I went to Westchester High School, where they had a pretty good music program there.
So after school and stuff, what was your first move? Where were you? I mean, you said you were out here, but did you stay here in Los Angeles? Did you go to New York? Did you go where was the next place you lived steadily, trying to work on?
Well,
music?
when I turned 11, my family moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because you said we went to Westchester. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then we were in LA until I was in LA until '89, and then I moved to New York. I did a year of college really poorly. I was on probation after the first 6 weeks, and I never got off. But my second semester, I began really working a lot professionally around town and starting working with some other musicians. So I said, I'm out. My parents were sorely disappointed, but I said, I got to do this. So I moved to New York, and that was it.
And how was New York?
New York was incredible. It was everything that I had hoped that it was going to be. It was jazz clubs everywhere. Jazz musicians everywhere, all the jazz musicians that I grew up listening to on records, Horace Silver, Art Blakey, Elvin Jones, Ray Brown, they were all there. I was like, But then after about 6 months of it, I stopped this whole starstruck vibration kind of went away because now they were just there.
Right.
Because they didn't walk around like they were, they were just the cats.
Yeah.
So I'm in and out of these clubs, and you can hang out till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, crawl out of the club, find your way home, sleep till noon, and then do it all again the next night. I did that for night after night for years because the scene was just so vibrant and just full of life.
Now, were you performing every night, or you were just hanging out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you could perform. You can make your whole career just playing in New York at that time.
Okay.
7 nights a week. You never had to travel. As a matter of fact, I knew musicians who refused to travel.
Because they had the steady, every night they had a gig.
Yeah, or just philosophically, they just thought it was kind of against their philosophy or religion.
Now, was the
music.
crowds, did the audience, you feel, appreciated it more, or there was just such a density of, were you getting the same people every night, or was it just almost like the comedy clubs in New York where there's just enough people there that you're going to fill the house every night, no matter what, no matter who you throw up there?
It was a combination of all those things.
Okay.
There were new audiences, but there were also the same folks. I was just talking with some musicians, and when we were just in Italy, about the people that we used to see at this place called Bradley's.
Okay.
Up until about 1996.
Yeah.
And they had been around since the 60s or 70s. And we used to talk about this one guy used to sit on the end.
Yeah.
It's that guy was 70 years old 30 years ago, so he's got it.
And then
going.
he had stories. Yeah,
Of course.
he could tell you about
He saw everybody come through.
Yeah, when Miles Davis was hanging out by Columbia.
All of that. The person who got drunk and spit there, and just it was amazing. We talked about those people, and they were just as much. I was part of the scene as the musicians in the club and the bartenders, because these are the people.
These
that
are the jazz groupies.
This was Cheers. This was you, Will, at Sardo. Will's here, so we all knew these people by name. It was amazing.
I feel like somehow Sardo's was a far less glamorous environment than a Manhattan jazz club that's seen some shit.
No, one day you're gonna be and this is where a boob threw up on the bar on St. Patrick's Day.
Somehow I feel like that is not going to be a story I will be telling. I will not be bouncing my grandchild on his knee.
And this is where Will, when he took that girl home and then tried to urinate in his bathroom sink.
Son. Let me tell you, this Panera Bread had stories.
Those stories floated around, but we didn't share them.
Oh, are they going to turn Sardos into a Panera? No, this is a topic for next week. Anyway, back to jazz. So you're in New York. It seems like things are going great. You learn a lot, hang with some cool cats. Then
don't say that again.
That's very cool. Say it as much as you want, Willie.
Say
it again.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
But you came back out to LA. You came back down to LA.
I came back here in 2008.
So what made you jump back?
New York started to change. I mean, that's kind of expected. I didn't expect it, but I changed. Yeah. New York was changing. Clubs were closing.
Right.
It was becoming more and more expensive. Of course, that's just life.
Yeah.
But constantly by surprise, because it was the gradual change. And I was also moving into some other spiritual, personal space. And I said, okay, I've kind of done my thing here in New York. It's time to go back to something that I'm familiar with my family here and everything, and the weather.
Yeah.
Everything was different. I was different, so I split.
So what's the jazz scene like here in LA? Because I saw this movie.
Is it Collateral?
Right? No, I saw this movie.
Must we?
And in the movie...
Do we have to?
Ryan Gosling told me that jazz, it's dying on the vine.
So as the human race, we're all dying. Everything is dying. Listen, they've been trying to kill jazz since the 1950s. It'll stick around or it won't. I'll play whatever's there. I'm not like one of these jazz heads who's like, it's got to be swing or nothing. I didn't see the movie, so I have nothing to say.
You haven't seen the movie?
Didn't see the movie. But the Los Angeles jazz scene is very interesting. Got some great jazz musicians here. Just not enough places for them to play.
So what places around here are there to play? Like if people here in Los Angeles,
Because I'm not going to that club from Collateral. That place is dangerous.
Yeah. You ever see the movie Collateral?
No, I didn't.
There's one scene where he's got to kill a jazz musician.
Nice. That sounds like fun.
But first, Tom Cruise has a very in-depth conversation with who's the actor? It's
It's a very difficult name to say.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be able to say
that guy that was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you go to the Blue Whale down in downtown, and I always is it not Chinatown? It's downtown.
Okay.
Blue Whale is a very popular place. Then there's the Mint near Pico and Fairfax. Those are the only places that I really hang out.
Any place here in the valley?
I'm sure there are, but I don't hang out in the valley.
What about
much.
Michelli's? Don't they have, or that's just...
I'm not familiar with Michelli's.
Okay.
That's just like
Just like a dude like tickling the
that's
average.
a guy just playing like he's usually playing like standards and something. Then the waiters will sing like a Sinatra song.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, it's a little different.
So it's different, but
It's a place to play. Work is work. Nice work if you can get it.
well, I mean, so you play shows, I guess, a lot around here. Are there a lot of places where you can just like? And let me ask you this: do you still? Because you were saying back in the day in New York, you could play like almost every night and stuff. Like, obviously, you've had a little bit more of a career now.
Sure.
You've done a little bit more, but do you still like go out to like much like a stand-up comedian, even like a Dave Chappelle still goes and like. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do a thing at the Laugh Factory at home.
Absolutely.
So you're
I gotta
going
keep
around
my
and-
chops up. You know,
Okay.
I can't wait for a $10,000 gig to come around all the time. I'm just going to sit around home, watch Netflix till. No, I like to go out and hang. So there's this place, the Mint, which is mostly college students. A lot of guys come out from Northridge and they hang out there on Monday
They come all the
nights.
way out from Northridge to go there?
It's half an hour at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. I mean, I live 2 miles from there. I've been there once.
You should go on Monday nights.
Is Monday night always the night?
Alternating Monday nights. So not this coming, but the next one.
Okay.
So
They just had one
every other Monday night at like 10 o'clock.
at 10 o'clock.
Is Jazz Night?
Well, actually, 8 o'clock, they have a headliner.
Okay.
And then at 10 o'clock, 10:30, they have the jam session.
Okay.
And everybody in there is like half my age, which is fine.
Okay.
I used to be the youngest
Yeah.
guy.
But here's the thing.
It's all good.
That's going to be encouraging.
It is very much so.
Because my next question was going to be about, like, who's going to see jazz? Like,
Yeah.
who are the people coming out? I know whenever, Sean, you and I go to a lot of, like, shows at, like, the American Cinematheque of, like,
Yeah.
old movies.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I went recently to see a double feature of All About Eve and Mildred Pierce. And I'm like, who's going to be at this thing? And
Right.
I mean, there were a lot of people younger than me.
Okay.
A lot of people in their 20s.
That's
and it's
good to
like,
know.
oh, that makes me feel good
Yeah.
that people still want to see these movies.
They
So
still
in the same
appreciate
way,
that.
jazz is considered, I feel like it, in a lot of ways, people think of it being for like an older set. Like,
Sure.
like
Oh, like La La Land revitalized it. Save jazz.
I want to get to that in a second too. But so that's got to be very encouraging,
It
even
is.
though that might make you feel a little old.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's not their fault. That's my fault.
Yeah.
But I mean, I enjoy the energy. I enjoy being around all these young people and listening to them talk about their young lives and, oh gosh, what am I going to do once I graduate college? I got to find a gig. Oh my God, I wouldn't go back to that for all the money in the world. Just trying to figure out what you're going to do for the next 20, 30 years. So I've already been through that.
Now, we have made some La La Land jokes, but
And I shouldn't laugh because I haven't seen it. So
no, I mean, I would actually be curious what your take on it is, just being someone who knows jazz and lives jazz. But my real question is, so a movie like La La Land comes out, do you see an increase in people coming out to jazz clubs? Does it help? Like, even if it might be some
Like misguided.
yeah, even if it might be a little misguided,
Jazz tourism.
just
I
like
don't know if it helps or hurts, to be
Okay.
perfectly honest, because it doesn't seem to me as though the audiences have increased or decreased in general. I hear people talking about the movie a lot. I don't hear jazz musicians talking about it, but I hear non-musicians talking. Just like with Whiplash, it was the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people always were interested in my take on Whiplash. Again, another movie I didn't see. It wasn't something that I was drawn to. I like to watch shoot 'em ups, mafia movies. Those kinds of movies don't appeal to me, so I didn't go to see it for those reasons, not because it was a certain type of music. It just didn't look like it was going to be something I wanted to see.
I was just wondering if you noticed a change.
Well, if it had won Best Picture, it probably would have been more influential.
But I don't think Moonlight brought about an increase in homosexuality. I mean,
I
These
don't
things take a
know.
little while to filter through the system.
So you toured like you were just out of town. Like
Yes.
you go on the road a lot.
Yes, I do.
You like going on the road?
not so much.
Okay.
I used to love it, and it's kind of worn on me. Traveling has not become any easier. Traveling's gotten worse, obviously.
We got Ann Coulter on airplanes screaming at people.
changing my seat and
Yeah.
whatnot, and they're dragging people off if they're
Yeah.
not changing your seat. So traveling's not fun. Take this off, put that on, put your hands up.
You know what that is? It's like the glamour of travel is unless you're like doing a giant tour, unless you're really rich and doing
In a
giant
private
tour.
jet,
Yeah,
exactly. But again, you still have to go through security and customs and all that. It's a nightmare.
But you were just overseas.
Yes, I was.
Where were you?
I was in Italy, Spain, and Germany.
And what were you doing over there?
I was doing a series of concerts on Thelonious Monk's music.
Okay.
So it was me and about four other piano players, and we were playing some duets and some solo things.
Now, in Italy, you went to the Perugia Jazz Festival.
Yes.
Was that your first time there, or have you been before?
Oh no, many years at Perugia. Yeah,
Okay.
since the 80s.
So I've been there. I went there once several years ago, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a magical.
It's a wonderful hang.
Week,
And listen,
yeah.
a bunch of young people
Yeah.
walking around. It was beautiful to see.
So Perugia is in Umbria. It's the province in Italy right next to Tuscany, a little bit north of there. And Perugia, there's two parts of the city. There's like the modern city, but the old medieval city. It's at the top of this mountain, very defensible, very sensible medieval spot to put a church in a town. So you're at the top of this mountain. It's like this flat top, and you can walk through the whole city. And I mean, it's like a mile maybe.
Yeah,
not
it's
even.
very hilly.
Right, it's very hilly, but you are on top of this, and you have these amazing views everywhere you go. You
Gorgeous
could see
views.
for like 40 miles in every direction the Italian countryside. And the Perugian Jazz Festival, the entire day, all you do is walk around, and every 30 feet is another group, a band,
On the
people
street.
playing on the street, playing music. There's beer and food everywhere you go, and you just walk around and you listen to music all day long. And in the evenings, they have an amphitheater there,
Right.
where there's like the concert where they'll tend
The
to
main stage.
the main stage, and they'll have like bigger names come into them. But you can go and not even go to the main stage concerts.
Sure.
And it's wonderful. It's tons of fun. And I saw a gospel choir from Tennessee there. I saw just
Bobby
people-
Jones.
I don't remember who it
Yeah,
was,
they're
but
from Tennessee, yeah.
but it was unbelievable. It was like I was there because a friend of mine was at a Berklee School of Music program there.
And Berkeley was there.
Yeah.
They're there every year.
So every night I was just crashing in they took over like a hostel there, and I was just crashing there. And every night it was just students from all over the world, just like they were playing music all day long,
Yeah.
and then we were just eating and drinking, and
Yeah.
then do it again every day. It was
yeah,
tons of fun.
it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a great festival.
So-
pretty hot this year too.
I can imagine.
Really hot.
So you do a lot of festivals, do a lot of
A lot of
stuff, right?
festivals, clubs, concert halls.
Now let's talk about your music.
Okay.
So what are you like? Because we were talking about it before with like jazz. There's something very freeing about playing jazz. There's there's a lot of different ways it could go. How would you describe what you do, like the stuff you make?
It's a combination of so many things. It's a combination of all of my experiences. So you might hear a little bit of blues, a little bit of gospel, a little bit of classical, a little bit of pop. I have a record coming out in October, and it's really a combination of all of my different musical influences. Before, I would kind of just stick strictly with jazz, like what they would consider traditional swing. But now I've included a lot more things. I've lived a lot more, and
Yeah.
I want to include a lot more into my
Trap music.
what?
Trap music.
Trap music? How do you mean?
No, just
Oh,
your influences.
No, that's not one of them. But I'll check it out. I'm open. I'm more open-minded. That's kind of the point.
So you feel like you're less of a purist about it now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, would you have considered yourself a purist?
I
for
would
many
have.
years? Okay.
I would have. And it worked for me until it stopped working.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be in the party that's winning.
Right.
And then the party starts to lose. Well, you're going to abandon the party, or you're going
Right.
to just stick with the party. Sorry, am I getting too...
No. That makes perfect sense.
And we're gonna hear a track
Yes.
from one of your. Is this from the new album? The old album?
This is from the new album.
Nice.
It's called The Way to Love.
Okay.
The album is called A Light in Darkness, but this song is called The Way to Love.
We're gonna play that a little bit later. We'll have you introduce it then, talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
But I guess are you doing any shows coming up? Anything around?
I'll
before
be
we
at
move on?
I'll be at Catalina Bar and Grill, the new one over on what street is that? Sunset and Highland, just east of Highland, McCadden Place.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's over there. And I'll be there with Pharoah Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll be at the Mint, with Kevin Canner's band. I don't play in LA a whole lot, but when I do, it's with Kevin Canner.
Now, do you have a website somewhere where people can find out about your shows?
I do. My website is ericreed.net, and the schedule stays pretty current. And I also have a Facebook page. It's called the Eric Reed Music Page.
Nice. And if you are a good listener of the podcast, you have already checked out these dates because we are going to have a link to his site on our Facebook page.
Wonderful.
So you want to talk about some pop culture with us?
Why not?
Yeah, well, you
do
got,
this.
you got no choice. And I feel bad. I threw you a curveball because we had to change topics because couple of we had some deaths.
It's checked out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one death actually upset me.
Chinese Nobel Prize winning activist.
No. George Romero.
Or him.
George Romero, who is basically the father of the modern zombie. Like, there might have been some, white zombie Bela Lugosi nonsense in the 1940s or whatever. But Romero, the zombie that you know as a zombie,
It's George
Romero created those things.
All right.
Are you a zombie movie guy?
I am not a zombie movie guy.
Sean, I know you are not a zombie guy.
I have issues with where the zombie genre has gone in recent years.
So like hip hop.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you were saying.
But you know what? It's so funny. I saw somebody tweeting about this, about how, there'd be no Walking Dead. There'd be none of this stuff that all these people of World War Z are all these zombie things that have made a ton of money because Romero created those zombies. Did he ever get a residual from it? Nah, of course not. But he basically created the model for all those things. And apparently he was always very cool about it.
Was he?
That's what I hear. He was always cool about it. But there's a reason why on The Walking Dead they don't ever use the word zombie, and that they have talked about how that the show operates in a world where George Romero was never born because maybe lawyers aren't cool about this stuff. I don't know. But I mean, they all... But he was also always a supporter of the horror genre.
Right.
And I have so many friends who have worked in that genre or have, tried to or have written about that genre.
Well,
and he, all of them have a Romero story of where they met him and how great he was and welcoming and nice.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. He, Edgar Wright penned a very nice remembrance of him, talking about how without George Romero, there would be no Shaun of the Dead, and he would not have a career. Stephen King wrote a little bit something about him. They had worked together.
Creepshow.
He was extremely influential on the horror genre. His later movies definitely weren't up to the same level. Would you say he peaked early and then just remained influential and kind of this godfather figure and he was more influential than he was, he had his original Night of the Living Dead, which he made Philadelphia, I believe. No,
Okay.
was he Pittsburgh?
He's a
sorry.
Pittsburgh guy.
Pittsburgh guy.
Okay.
He made the movie
But
for
still,
100.
Pennsylvania.
No, they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. West, yeah.
So Flyers, Penguins, it's the same thing.
Okay, sure.
But
So he made Night of the Living Dead for $100,000. And the other thing about why this became so influential is through some accident, some legal accident or some copyright accident, Night of the Living Dead lost, it was never trademarked or copyrighted, so it was in the public domain. And so that allowed it to disseminate freely, and it got in front of everyone, and it became, and so the idea of zombies, all of that, just spread freely because of the sort of this legal accident behind the movie.
When I worked in a video store, there were all these knockoff like, because anyone could release Night of the Living Dead and make a money off it. So there are all these cheap DVDs of Night of the Living Dead. On Halloween, we would, like, if you purchased, like, 2 DVDs, we'd give you a Night of the Living Dead free or something like that. You know, so...
So he made that movie, which was incredibly influential.
and also very DIY.
Yeah.
Before people were saying
it was
things
kind of like
like,
one of the first. It was
and-
one of the first like independent films. There's always this chase to find like what was the first independent movie, but it was pretty much a forerunner. But he really cemented his legacy with the second movie, Dawn of the Dead, which
well, it wasn't his second, but his
second zombie movie, right? That was one that took place in a shopping mall, and that was the movie that took this idea of zombies and the blankness that you can ascribe to zombies, where they're just this evil that keeps coming no matter what, and he married it to commerce and this like when did the movie come out? In the early 80s?
78.
Oh, 78. Okay, so it was kind of like this early yuppie consumer culture. So and so the movie got injected with all this social commentary, and that was what sort of took him to the next level.
That's Dawn of the Dead.
That was Dawn of the Dead,
Original
which I think
Dawn
is
of the Dead.
better than Night of the Living Dead.
I think Dawn of the Dead is probably the greatest zombie film ever made. I think it's better than Night of the Living Dead.
Well, it's got bigger budget, bigger
It's got
effects.
amazing special effects. Tom Savini, I don't know if you're familiar with him. Great effects guy. He did the effects for Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead, but you know what he did? He put social commentary in all of his zombie films, even though towards the end they were getting a little on the nose, and he didn't have really the budget for it. But all of them, I mean, Night of the Living Dead has a racial element to it, that because the lead of it's is black man, and
he's the only one that survives the zombie apocalypse.
He what?
He's the only one that survives.
well.
The black man survives the movie.
Well,
he doesn't get bumped off first.
wait, now
He doesn't get bumped for the first 10 minutes.
Now you're forcing me to
give away the ending.
You want me to give away the end of Night of the Living
Oh,
Dead?
do your fans want you to? I don't know.
They've seen it. If they haven't, it's on
If
you.
they haven't, it's on you. The movie came out in '68.
And it's public domain.
Yeah, by all means.
It's on YouTube.
So they end up going to this house, and the person in the house is this black man, and he's protecting a lot of the people. He's the only one who knows what the fuck he's doing, basically. And he's the only one in the house who survives the night. And in the morning, like, of course, like all these hillbilly yokels are coming through the woods, killing zombies. And they're like taking out, like, they're basically, it's funny, the end of the Night of the Living Dead, you get the feeling, oh, they've got this under control because all these groups killing all these zombies. And of course, they see something moving in the house, this black man in the house.
He's got to be a zombie.
And they shoot him, thinking he's a zombie. Okay. And to be fair to these racist hillbillies, I think they really did believe he was a zombie. But
it injected a whole level of...
It injects a whole other level of
commentary.
Yeah.
Clearly, I have my own point of view on that. Go ahead. Anyway.
Oh, I don't think.
Anyway.
Let's put it this way.
I had no idea.
Okay. I'm not giving that excuse.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, talk about social commentary.
Yeah.
But I think it was really, and then Day of the Dead has this whole thing about the military.
Right.
And
Don't forget Monkey Shines.
Okay. Then he also did some things like Monkey Shines, which aren't that great.
Well,
he did the Crazies in the 70s.
What was his biker movie that he did?
Oh, I'm blanking on the name
terrible.
of it.
Night Joust Nights.
Yeah.
It was basically like motorcycle gangs, but they were almost like medieval gangs and knights, and they would go and they would joust each other in motorcycles. It's not good.
Are you a horror movie guy at all?
I'm really not. But I find this very interesting. I don't feel left out. I think this is hilarious.
Okay, well, also, Martin Landau died.
Yes.
Oscar-winning actor. Are you a fan of his work?
I am a fan of Martin Landau.
He got his first screen role, I believe.
Was it his first?
It was his first big one, if you're talking about North by Northwest.
Yeah.
He was in a one before that.
Yeah. Now, you know who worked as a production assistant North by Northwest?
Oh.
George Romero.
What?
Yes.
Well, are you kidding
I'm
me?
making that up. George Romero worked as like a runner and a production assistant.
The same one?
Same guy.
I'll be doggone.
Well, because North by Northwest was early, what was it?
58.
58, so.
Yeah.
He worked. It was like one of his first film gigs. Was working as like an
Get
assistant
outta
on North by
here.
Northwest.
So him and Landau,
They made a
went
blood
across
pact.
paths, and then they died.
now died, yeah.
Landau saw Romero die. He's like, I have to go too. It took his own life. Landau, he played a gay henchman in North by Northwest.
Implied.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my woman's intuition. Okay, all right, fine. A little spot on, but okay.
And then he did.
Oh, Leonard.
Yeah.
Leonard.
Then he did Mission Impossible TV
Yes.
show,
Yeah.
which was good. And then he kind of went away for a while. He didn't get a lot of work in like the 70s, early 80s.
Well, I get the sense that Landau was fairly principled because he opted to leave Mission Impossible because he was only he was like normally they would contract you for like 5 years, but he insisted on a 1-year contract. He didn't want to be tied into it. So after that, Peter Graves came on.
Yeah.
And he was getting more than Landau. So Landau said, I'm out. Because he saw that. But I think after that was kind of like, it wasn't exactly a David Caruso move. But he just said, you know what, this isn't right. I'm not going to do this. And then his career, like you said, kind of just took a little...
Yeah,
He worked
did
a lot of TV.
Yeah, a lot of TV,
Yeah.
but nothing Mission Impossible
Yeah, no,
level.
nothing.
And then it was really in the 80s, he started
had
to
a
come back.
resurgence, 83, 84.
He was in Tucker, A Man in His Dream, which he got an Oscar
Yeah,
nomination
for
for.
that. Mm-hmm.
He's great in Crimes and Misdemeanors.
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
Oh, he's so good in that.
That's Woody
See
Allen.
that. Woody Allen. I would put it also in Woody Allen's top 5 films.
Okay.
Like I think it's. Did you like Match Point?
Didn't
Did you
see it.
it? Well, anyway, Crimes and Misdemeanors. The Martin Landau stuff is basically the same. Is basically the same plot as Match Point in a lot of ways, or dealing with the same moral issues of that. Like,
Because he was like an adulteress.
yeah, and I might have to kill my mistress, kind of thing.
Well, you're right. He really he was just kind of working TV for like decades.
Yeah.
He was,
And then in '94, of course, he does Ed Wood, wins an Oscar.
Right.
You seen Ed Wood?
No, I did not.
Oh, you got to see Ed Wood, man.
I'll see it.
he's in Sliver and Intersection with Richard Gere.
Let me tell you what, Ed Wood, Sean. What do you think of Landau?
Pretty good.
And he plays Bela Lugosi.
He plays Bela Lugosi, and it's a great performance. It's a very funny performance, but also a very sad performance. Because here's this performer towards the end of his career, and like, what can you really do anymore? Right. And, Ed Wood gives him a shot, but they're in these schlocky movies.
Right.
There's a speech he gives in this movie that is hilarious, that ends with him just going, pull the strings, pull the strings. And it is this hilarious, weird moment in anyone who's seen Ed Wood. And if you say that to them, they know exactly what you're talking about. They're all in.
But
Sean,
we all know his greatest role was as Bob Ryan in the Entourage movie.
Do you have any Martin Landau thoughts, Sean?
No, I mean, for me, he's still always the character North by Northwest. He
Really
it's
more so
weird
than
because,
Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, for me, because I mean that movie I've seen so many times. It's interesting that he has such a high profile in our consciousness, but really, if you look at his career, he doesn't have a lot of movies that just. I mean, he was in Rounders. He's in a couple movies.
City Hall as judges.
Yeah, he always kind of showed up.
Northwest.
He's like the ultimate character actor.
Yeah.
And especially that particular character, like you said, there's the implication that he's gay.
Yeah.
That was unheard of at that time.
So yeah, him and James Mason, just like guy worked constantly his whole career and made, you don't forget him. He had a weird look. He had a weird face.
Yeah,
He did a movie only a year ago, an Adam McGoyan film.
Well, he's got 3 films in the can, I think.
He's got The Last Poker Game, it looks like.
That still have yet to come out, if I'm not mistaken.
So
well, they were both great, and now they're...
And he was born the day before me.
he's got 5
June 20th.
5 upcoming
Landau.
projects. You're right.
Oh, was it 5? Okay, I thought it was just
Got
3.
well, I mean, some of these are 2000. I don't know if he's finished all of these, but
Okay.
yeah. So we'll be seeing him for a while now.
And he was spoofed in Family Guy.
I mean, who wasn't?
He was having dinner with Stewie, and
Oh, he kept
he
spitting?
kept spitting. And at one point, he spit out a whole pork chop
Yeah.
to his face.
So, these guys were aging, and, you could say, Sean, what did you say about Romero? He peaked...
Yeah.
He was
Peaked early.
77.
He peaked early,
Yeah,
and
Landau
sometimes
was
people
89.
peak early, but they, they stick around.
Sure.
And they stick around
a little
in our conscience.
past their expiration date.
So, I went to Hollywood Bowl, because one of my all-time favorite bands, from the 90s, Garbage was playing. I love Garbage. You know Garbage?
Do not know Garbage.
Oh, Shirley Manson, Garbage. Oh, check out Shirley Manson.
Check out Shirley Manson, Garbage.
I'm a big Shirley Manson.
You like
fan.
Garbage, do you?
I like him. I like him. But anyway, Garbage was playing, and they were playing with Blondie. This was a big thrill for them because Garbage, a band from the 90s, grew up like in the 80s, was inspired very much by Blondie.
Band from the 40s.
Yeah. So Blondie was playing, and I was excited for this because you gotta love all those old Blondie songs, Call Me and One Way and Heart of Glass or whatever. And Debbie Harry came out, and Debbie Harry was great. But you can also tell she has lost a few steps here and there. I mean, she's in her 70s.
Okay.
But she's still doing a really good job. But more so, the rest of the band has lost a few steps. The drummer is still on point, though. The drummer, my friend Jacob, who I went to see him with, he's like, clearly the drummer needs this more than everybody else because he is the only one.
He's in it.
Because the other two guitarists, old 70s Blondie guitarists, I mean, they were having trouble keeping up.
Wow.
So luckily, Blondie had recruited two people who were clearly younger than me to play guitar also.
Okay.
So you had 4 guitarists.
Yes.
And 2 of them were doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Okay. So even when I had like 2.5.
Yeah. The young guys were doing a lot.
They were kind of just
Well, the other 2 weren't even plugged in. They were
Yeah. Like some people, they don't turn their mics on.
Yeah.
Now look, the crowd loved her. They went crazy when, she's doing Call Me. They went crazy when she's doing Rapture, and she's still doing that weird rap in Rapture, And it was great, and I'm very glad I saw her. However, it started to make me think, like, how long is she going to be out there doing this? How long? When is it time for an artist to hang it up?
Fat Elvis.
Fat Elvis.
That's
well.
what-
See now.
Fat, can't breathe, sweating Elvis.
The reason I want
High drug Elvis.
and he was probably half the age of some
He was
of
like
these
45
people.
when he died.
Exactly.
I mean, Mick Jagger's in his 70s.
And he's
strutting
still
across the-
strutting around. He doesn't rape, kill, murder. Come,
So I wanted to ask you this in particular because I feel like this is a question we have about musicians more than anyone else. Because, you get
Philip
some...
Roth is still churning out the books.
They get, like, old Martin Landau. They could have propped him up on the set and had him read some lines. And we don't know
On Golden Pond.
Well, that's the thing. You don't know what the process was to get them there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But musicians, you see them out on the stage. You hear them when you're at the show. So I feel like those are the ones where we're like, sometimes we're like, I can't believe they're still doing this.
Right.
But then again, a couple of years ago, I saw Paul McCartney, also in his 70s, at Dodger Stadium. Probably the best concert I've ever seen in my
He can
life.
still bring it.
So
When do
you
we take
think-
him out to pasture?
When they like talk more than they sing.
Well, Bruce Springsteen's been doing that since his 20s.
Oh, okay.
And
See, I've never
Bono, I
seen
don't
him.
think Bono sung a song in 7 years. And I want to talk to you about the children in Africa.
I think when they've got to take more pauses in between songs to drink water, and to breathe.
Let the band do a little breakdown where they do.
It's time to go.
What's the Spinal Tap scene where they do the musical Odyssey? They do like, should we do the musical Odyssey version of the song?
Did you, is there? I mean, have there been artists you've seen? You've been like, or is there anyone you want to mention that you're like, oh, like this stuff just isn't what it was?
Yes, and as much as I hate to admit it, one of my favorite trumpet players in the world, Freddie Hubbard, and that's what broke my heart even worse is that he, at any moment in his life, was the greatest trumpet player ever, dead or alive. He just blew everybody away. And then he blew out his lip. He could barely produce notes, yet he'd get up on stage. I'm trying to think, who are these people hiring him? Don't they know he can't play his instrument anymore?
Right.
But they kept calling him. I'm like, well, he really is badass. to be able to still get calls for gigs and you can't play your instrument, that's greatness right there.
So who's going to see him though?
His fans who are hoping against hope that there'll be 4 bars of music.
Yeah.
We
get a little flash of what it used to be.
Like the episode where you're into Frasier.
Yeah.
The episode where they're this guy that they fell in love.
Oh.
Oh, I want welcome to and all of that.
Yeah,
And
I
they said,
remember
oh my
that.
God, this guy is terrible. And they thought he was so wonderful when they were in their 20s, and this guy was a horrible overactor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the people who remember when he was actually great,
Right.
and they're just thinking that, well, it's got to happen. Like I said, that flash of 4 bars where he'll just do something. I can walk away and tell my grandchildren he couldn't play for a whole hour, but that last 30 seconds, oh my God, they're waiting for that. It's fantasy.
Is there somebody so have you been one of those people, though? You've gone to that in the hopes?
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Sean,
And then I said, well, I can't go see this person anymore.
Sean, is there anybody like that you've ever, gone to? Or somebody oh, this person is going to be terrible now, but I got to see them?
No, because I don't have a lot of... I've still never seen Fleetwood Mac live, and I would like to. I feel like I'm running out of time there.
They just played.
I know.
And I thought of going, too. By the way, you and me got to get on the same page about concerts.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're going to see young nubile Lord, who's, got 40 years ahead of her. I'm glad I saw Bruce Springsteen. I saw him about 15 years ago, so he was in his 50s. It was an amazing concert, but I told people, oh, you should have seen him 15 years ago. I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't win. I'm sorry. So speaking of Blondie, really fast, my dad saw Blondie in the 70s at the Roxy, where Iggy Pop came out and had her on a leash and was singing, and she was singing, and he was leading her around on all 4s on stage. And my dad said it was the greatest concert he's ever been to in his entire life.
Wow.
My friend...
Because this was peak Blondie in her 20s.
Yeah.
Well, that, and not to reduce her to this, but I've often said that if I could go back in a time machine and have sex with any woman in history, it would probably be Debbie Harry circa 1977.
Yeah, that's basically... Yeah, my dad probably saw her in 1975.
My buddy Lane, his father, always told the story of the best New Year's he ever had, where he was working as a bouncer at CBGB's, and Blondie played, and then he was drinking with him afterwards. Yeah. That's something. Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why. I bought the ticket to this concert because I'm a big Garbage fan. And I think, though, I was excited to see Debbie Harry just because it's she's got that history, and it's you should see her once. I regret that I never saw Bowie, for example, and now it's almost like anyone I could see, I feel like I will just go see. My problem is now, but I have the issue where I know what I'm seeing is still going to be good, but it won't be what it was, and I'm almost hesitant to spend the money even to go see old septuagenarian Paul McCartney, even though you say it's great. It was a great show.
I know, but I'm just
Well, he never destroyed his voice.
Right.
He wasn't one of these. Yeah. So he still has a little bit of mellowness because he never really overused his voice or screamed. Right. So he's still able to sound, crank out some nice melodies.
And I think also,
but it's also such a scene now, and the part of it also is the commerce of it all bothers me.
Mm-hmm. But I was in Dodger Stadium. Yeah. The entire stadium singing along with him to "Hey Jude." You can't. Yeah, it's hard not to get chills about that when you're in that. You can't beat that. I think McCartney.
If I want to sing "Hey Jude" with a bunch of strangers, I'll go to a train station. I don't need to spend money to do that. If you start singing "Hey Jude" in a subway car, you'll get the same response.
You used to be able to do it at Sardo's.
Yeah.
Now
also as a Jew, I get nervous anytime everyone's singing "Hey Jude," "Hey Jude" at the same time.
Would you go see the Stones?
I've seen the Stones. In San Francisco in 2002, and it was a terrible show because they're so over-rehearsed that I didn't feel like I was watching anything spontaneous. I felt like Mick Jagger, they were all going through the same moves they've been doing for 30 years, and it's now he's going to do the duck walk. Now
and they can still pull that off.
And this was already 15 years ago, but it was fine. I felt like I was just watching an over-rehearsed production that they had, played, they were just going through their marks. At least with Bruce Springsteen, there's that little element of chaos of what the fuck's he gonna go off on now. But the Rolling Stones, I was really disappointed because it sounded exactly like what I thought I was gonna get from Rolling Stones concerts.
How about Dylan? Would you go see Dylan?
I would, but the thing with Dylan is you're playing Russian roulette with Dylan. People say you either get an amazing show or he's just he just sings deep cuts from his 80s Jesus albums.
Well, let's face it. Dylan's a poet. He's not a singer.
Yeah.
He's never poised himself as a singer.
I always thought he was a great singer. I'm actually one of the people that enjoys Dylan.
He's about as great a singer as Janis Joplin was.
Okay.
I'm talking about singing.
And how did she end up?
Frank Sinatra, singing, actual good sounding voice. Dylan was a storyteller. He's a folk singer, so he didn't really need to have a great sounding voice.
I wish I'd seen Leonard Cohen, which kind of falls.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him too.
And then the other one also who I'd like to see is Tom Waits.
Yeah, I would go see Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Sean, if next time, okay.
Next time these clouds roll the
here's
town.
the thing.
You guys got to connect.
Next time Tom Waits is around, we should go see him. Next time Fleetwood Mac comes to town, clearly we both have a desire to see it. I didn't. I shoulda. You shoulda. Let's go see Fleetwood Mac
Fine.
before they're all
Before
dead.
Stevie Nicks blows her, septum out again.
So, when you go to these concerts, you gotta, sometimes there's seats. Sometimes you gotta find your seat at the concert. When you go to almost any event, you gotta find your seat. And now movies, it's gotten a little trickier too.
Yeah.
Because
Assigned seating.
Yeah. Now, recently, Sean and I went to go see The Beguiled. And as the movie started, we noticed something. A sea of idiots trying to find their seats. First of all, why are you walking in late? Why are you coming in? The movie's got a start time. You come in at start time. You don't want to miss part of the movie. There's a start time. But secondly, why can't you find your goddamn seat? It's a simple combination of letters and numbers. Go to row D, sit in fucking seat 5. Done. Then, I was at a fucking Dodger game with my dad. And not only did so many fucking lazy-ass Dodger fans start showing up in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, none of them could find their seats. In fact, almost everyone was in the wrong seat. People would show up and be like, I think you're in my seat. No, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, no. Oh, you're in this section. Oh, I'm on the other side. Oh, I have box seats behind home plate. I didn't know that. What am I doing in the upper deck? This isn't rocket science. Again, you go to the section, you go to the row, you go to the seat number. Am I the only one who knows how to fucking sit? Do people just not pay attention? Do they just walk around confounded and be like, I will sit in this seat? You're an adult. You attend events. I don't understand why you can't do this. And that's why you assholes who show up late and don't know where the fuck they are sitting are this week's enemy of the podcast. Go fuck yourself. Why don't you just go back and sit in your car? Why don't you wait in your car instead? Because you know where that is. Why can't people find the seats?
I have a small theory. I think everyone is trying to get that little edge, and I think a lot of people, there's a combination of well-meaning idiots, clueless bastards, and conniving assholes. The conniving assholes get there and they're like, oh, well, I'm supposed to sit up there, but those seats are empty. I'm going to go sit there until someone shows up. And then eventually people show up. Like, I think there's a little bit of that too. I don't know if it's fully the people. Like, even at the movie theater, you get there, there's no one sitting next to you, it's a little bit more center, you're going to scoot down.
Well, here's the thing with the assigned seating in a movie theater, and this happened the other day. Almost completely empty theater.
Right.
But because AMC has some weird thing of, like, if you go to buy a ticket, if you're one person who buys a ticket right after I bought a ticket, the pre-selected seat is the
like
one
right
next to me.
Right.
So it's like completely empty theater, like, there's no need for me to sit next to you.
5 dudes at 10 a.m. sitting each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So,
No, but I think there's a little bit, I think some of the seat chaos happens because some people are just being assholes. And then people show up and, not everyone's bright. And they're like, wait, it says here. And then there's the people playing, oh, I don't know. I thought this was my seat, and everyone's trying to save face.
You want to know what? If you're showing up to the Dodger game in the 6th inning, you don't deserve your seats. The person who stole your seat should get to keep it.
That's right.
That seems like a good rule
Now,
of thumb.
I do a certain thing where, I attend classical music concerts on occasion, and this tends to be a little bit more of an upper middle class audience. But I also know that the seating charts, when you go on the website, are updated live. So if I go online and I look 15 minutes before I go into the auditorium or the hall, and I look at the seating chart, any seat that says it's empty is empty. That seat has not been sold. So I will go and sit in a seat that is not necessarily the seat that I paid for, but I also know no one's showing up for that seat.
But you also know where you're sitting.
Oh, yeah.
See, these are. Let me just put this to your mouth. These are white people's problems. Okay.
Okay, tell us.
Cedric the Entertainer put it mildly.
Yeah.
He said, "White people wish, black people hope." No, I got that wrong. Black people wish, white people hope. So they come into the concert hall with the, where are we sitting? Well, I hope no one's sitting in our seats. Black people, I wish somebody would sit in my seat. And it's as simple as that. These are white people's problems. Black folks don't have problems finding their seats. They know what's going on. Because nobody wants to have a confrontation.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with any of that. So,
Yeah, you know what? Now, I'm going to say this. I don't think I've ever seen a black person looking for their seat.
you're not going to. And of course, if a black person walks, you're sitting in my seat. Oh, my fault. Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. Have my seat. Have 5 of them.
Have this man's seat.
Right when we were coming up with this topic, and I was doing this, I bought theater tickets for when I'm in London.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I said like, as if it's gonna be different. I'm like, am I gonna be able to find my seat? Like, because I'm in England, I'm suddenly gonna think like maybe there's some weird system and I'm gonna be the asshole.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Yes.
But guess
It'll
what?
be an old Oxford stencil.
Same
Font.
fucking language.
My seats are great because they're in a box.
Ah.
So I just got to go to the right box.
You're going to show up there and it'll be a black family. Like, fuck.
You sitting here? No. I'm down there.
That's it. I'm with the ground leagues. I stand there. I'll throw cabbage at the actors when they displease me. I don't know what the thing is with the seats. And also, here's the thing. If you're showing up late to a movie that's pretty full, like The Beguiled was, you know what seat yours is? The one that someone's not sitting in. That's your fucking seat. It's not so hard. But you know what? If you get there and someone's sitting in your seat and the other one's open, you go sit in that seat. That's your punishment for showing up late.
The seats are hard to find. Let's be perfectly honest. They're engraved on the arm or they're on the floor. They're not that easy to see.
And they do the bullshit. I will admit that they did do the bullshit at the theater where the even seats are 1/2. It doesn't just go like 1 to 20 across.
It's retarded.
It'll do like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 into the middle, and then it's the even on the other half. It's a little annoying.
It's a little annoying. But
it's not an impenetrable system. This
yes, you can still eventually there'll be a seat.
This isn't Borgia's like Library of Babylon.
Right, I'm gonna translate hieroglyphics to find your seat.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You know what? I get there 20 minutes early. That's what I do.
I'm there everywhere early too.
Yeah.
Like a fucking human being should.
Be on time.
Yeah. Hey, you're playing there on stage. Right. You want people all of a sudden 20 minutes into the show shuffling in like, where am I sitting?
I don't have it. No. Yeah. Keith Jarrett, who is a like notoriously amazing pianist, but also completely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
He makes people wait. It's kind of like in classical music.
Yeah.
You have to wait until a convenient musical pause. Of course, in classical music, there isn't one. You just miss the whole first half.
Yeah.
But with Keith, he's playing these long pieces. You got to wait for a very quiet moment. And they're kind of just rush in and find their seats right quick. But
you know what? I'm all for that. I wait. Like I go to storytelling shows. Mm-hmm. I'm not walking around getting a seat when someone's telling the story.
Right.
I wait till they're done. Then I go in between.
No, what do you mean? That's when you bring out the quesadillas.
Okay. Real fast story before we move on to the final bit of this podcast. I was in a show at this terrible bar
that is thankfully now closed.
Called the big dog, the red. It
doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't exist. Anyway, it was terrible, and it was this terrible kitchen that was never
with like a barefoot child running around the bar, like the owner's grandkid would just like chill.
Oh, that's okay.
And my favorite thing is someone was in the middle of a story, and the waitress. Walked right in front of the stage and yelled, quesadilla, quesadilla.
And eventually someone just goes, just take the quesadilla. Anyone, just take it.
She thought it was somebody's name. Quesadilla.
Oh, it was, it got to the point where the storyteller was like, you fucking kidding me? Like,
wow.
Was it your quesadilla?
No. Mine.
But I think you had ordered food.
Yeah,
also.
but that wasn't mine. It was someone else's.
And then I think there was a brief moment of panic.
It was a moment of panic.
Are they going to bring out my food next? I'm going to be next. Like, is there a way to cut them off? I knew there was something.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
All right, Eric. Before we go,
yes,
we usually end on a weird note unless we have someone who's bringing us wonderful music. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the piece we are about to listen to?
This song is called "The Way to Love." And it took me a long time to write. I had been working on it since July. And in this country, well, this is where we are. And this is a year ago, we were someplace else. And
we were.
Here we are now. So that's why I wrote this song. Basically, sort of my kumbaya. Trying to get folks to get on board and stop being jerks.
Well, let's give it a listen.
light. It's time to do what's right before the darkness falls and we're no more. Time for dreams has passed and we're so far away from truth. True love has no presence. We live apart from all reality, and then the end becomes, oh, where's the shining in the heart? Can love find a way? Will we keep our minds apart until the end of days? All of our help comes from above, and now, right now's the time and place, oh, to find the way to love.
That was great.
Thank you. Thank
That
you
was
very,
great.
very much. Thank you.
Love that. So where can the people listen to more of this? Where can they find out more about your upcoming albums, shows, and everything one last time?
My website is ericreed.net, and I have a Facebook page, Eric Reed Music page. But I'm trying to figure out if I should do Twitter and Instagram. Should I do all
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Why? It's so much work.
Well,
but I can do
think-
it.
part of the
you-
job.
If you can convince me,
I
I'll
would
do
actually,
it.
I think Instagram more so than Twitter,
Really?
maybe. Because you could drop in little videos and stuff and like performance videos.
I could do it on my Facebook.
You could
but
do that
not
on Twitter. You
Yeah.
could do everything on
Twitter,
all
I gotta
of
click
these.
on a link.
Right.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's good. I mean, yeah, Twitter's a pain in the ass, but how big of a pain in the ass would it be if, like, you just have to send, like, hey, come see me Thursday at this
Right,
show?
right. Just
Problem with
tweet-
Twitter is once you start doing it, you kind of get into it a little bit. You start following people, you start reading stuff, you start interacting, you start posting.
Yeah, but like I feel like a jerk. I have like 3 followers, and somebody has like 1,000,005. I mean,
Well, you gotta grow. I
you-
once
you
had
gotta-
3 followers. Now I have 1,100 followers.
okay.
What?
How do you grow your?
Yeah.
Russian bots.
Okay.
If you could get a Trump retweet, I mean, that'd be big.
You know, for real. Well, I don't know. I'll figure it. I'll do and Instagram too.
I don't do Instagram, but I don't take a lot of pictures.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
I take a lot of
your
pictures.
broken phone.
I take a lot of pictures, so I can do Instagram.
Mess around, just set it up. Spend a weekend, just futz around with it, see if you like it.
All right.
Okay, well, anyway.
Because if you post on Instagram, you can also have it post to your Facebook and your Twitter.
That just seems like overkill, but it's not. It's not like just duplicating. It reaches different people.
No, it's a lot of
Well, on Twitter it would reach me, where
Yeah.
it wouldn't reach me on Instagram because I'm not on Instagram.
yeah.
Okay.
Reach me everywhere because I'm a social media whore.
Sean, why don't you tell us
You can
about?
follow me at
where
all
you-
forms of social media.
I could be a whore
Sean
too.
David.
I wanna be a whore.
Follow me especially on Instagram because I put pretty things up for you to look at.
And you can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. I got some upcoming shows. September 9th, I'm going to be in Tell It. It's a back-to-school themed show.
Oh, new
Yeah.
story or?
I'm working on a brand new piece.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right, it's good.
So people have reason to come see me again. That's going to be September 9th, and that's at Open Space on Fairfax. Also, for the next few weeks, we only got, 4 episodes of Orphan Black left, and I'm hosting my Orphan Black recap show with Megan Salinas. You could watch that. It's on YouTube. It's more
I
like...
look at it.
it's more likely that you have watched that and are now listening to this than you listen to this and are watching that. But hopefully you're doing both. On the show next week, Diana Varco. Do you know Diana Varco? I
Nope.
thought you might.
She's a friend of Megan's.
Okay.
Which sounds like
Maybe
a
I met her.
speakeasy.
Yeah, friend of Megan's. Are you a friend of Megan's?
She has this terrific one-woman show called Shattered.
Okay.
It is revealing. It is funny, and she's going to come here and tell us all about it.
Is she a singer?
No,
No. Okay.
actress.
Okay.
No competition.
She's a jazz musician.
Yes.
We booked 2 back to back.
Nice.
That's how
And then
this is really just a jazz podcast.
the week after that, me and Sean are doing a special show.
Yes.
Because we're psychotic, crazy people. We've noticed recently that a lot of people are producing a lot of what's the best of the century so far.
Because, you know, when you're
lists.
17 and a half years into the century, that's when you take stock.
But, you know, tons of our favorite critics, including A.O. Scott, have been doing this with their favorite films. So Sean and I, we both love movies, and we love excuses to make lists. So we're going to...
I, as a Jew, do not like an excuse to make a list. I'm making a list under duress.
Well, we will... The list is life.
Okay.
That's the line from a movie that might have been on last century's best movies list, but not this century. We're going to tell you what the 25 best movies of the century so far are.
And so Will and I will not be revealing our list to each other, even though we have a good idea of what's on each other's lists, for the most part. And then once we will discuss them, and then we will also post them up afterwards, and then hopefully this will start a conversation.
So that should be good.
Yeah, or terrible.
Terrible. Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you, Will and Sean, for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and
Lot
for the
of fun.
thank you
Lot
for
of
coming
fun.
on the show. This was great, Eric. For the Will Sean podcast, I'm Sean David,
I'm willing.
and we're finished.
Finished.